What's going on, everybody? I'm Average Joe and welcome to another Average video. Alrighty, today's Average video, we're going to be testing out two brand spanking new server rack batteries from AOUSK. So this is going to be their version 2. A few months ago they sent out their version 1, and for the most part those were fantastic server rack batteries. They came in at a pretty good price, and there was just a couple minor things, if I remember correctly, that should be improved. Now for version 2 they did do a couple of changes. They did not tell me any of the changes or anything like that, so that's what we're going to do today, is take a look at version 2 and we will compare it with version 1, and I'll probably throw in a couple of capacity tests as well. Just rip the band-aid off. Okay, like I said, this is version 2, this is version 1, and I do have to mention real quick is like a month or two ago, I did swap around these positive and negative posts. They were previously flipped, so this side would have been negative and this side would have been positive. So that is one thing that they did change from our recommendations, is going to the industry standard, which is the positive on the left-hand side and the negative on the right. Other than that, everything looks pretty much the same except for the circuit breaker on and off. It is flipped around on this side, and I'm guessing they did that because they swapped around the positive and negative terminals. Other than that, I don't really see anything else that is different. Next, we will turn them on and take a look at the screen and see if anything has changed in here. So it says V32, V32. All right, so from here, we'll just go to enter. Yeah, all of that looks about the same. Yeah, okay, so all the same functions in here. We'll escape out of that. We'll go to next. We'll go to pack status. Yeah, all of that is basically the same. Pack parameters. This is going to be for your, oh, we can't actually do that right here. Never mind. Maybe it's pack settings. That's what it is. So this is for your inverter communications. So RS45, so far they look about the same. We'll go down a page. We will back out of that one. We'll go down to the CAN bus. I would imagine these are going to be the same as well. And that might be, yeah, that's pretty much it for the screen. So looks like the exact same screen and probably the exact same JBD BMS inside. All right. Next will be all the accessories that come with each battery, and it's pretty much the exact same as version 1. So we'll start right down here. You'll get a positive and negative battery cable that are 5 feet long, and these are 4 AWG, and they are 200 degrees C. You know, the super flexible kind. This side's going to have the Amphenol or quick disconnect, and the other side is going to be, I think it's a 7/16 battery lug on this side. You're going to get a positive and negative parallel cable, again the exact same size, 4 AWG, and these are basically paralleling just two batteries together. If you're going to parallel more than two, then you're going to go over to a bus bar and disregard these right here. Next to that's going to be your communication cable, and then a ground connection cable. You're going to get a little tiny splice right over here just in case you have a weird inverter and you need to modify the cable that goes from the battery over to the inverter, which would be this cable right here. You're going to get a communication cable that goes from the battery over to the inverter. You're going to get two of the server rack mounting style brackets right here, just in case you do have a server rack. And then you're going to get a set of build your own rack. Build-A-Bear, Build-A-Rack, you know, brackets right here. I kind of like those because if you don't have a rack, then you can conveniently stack all of your batteries together, and they all kind of lock together. So these little points right here are going to go into the one below it, and all the batteries are going to stack up and down just like that. I kind of like these. Some people don't, some people do. And then of course you're going to get, well, you're going to get the screws that attach all that, and then you're going to get a how to revise comm line. That's basically modifying your communication cable, your warranty policy, you're going to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi setup, little instruction manual right here, and it does do a really good job of explaining how to connect the app, which is the JBD app. I went over all this in the first video, so I'm not going to do all that in this video, but that does show you how to do it. You're going to get a quick installation manual, which is basically a shorter version of the actual user manual. It gives you all the specifications, you know, it tells you everything about it and how to hook it up. all of your dip switches if you're doing all that. I mean, it does a pretty good job of basically explaining everything, and then the actual user manual does an even better job of basically explaining everything. Oh, there you go. If you're just doing 2 in parallel, then you would use these cables right here. If you're doing more than 2, then you're going to parallel up to a bus bar. That is the proper way to do it. Okay, so manual is pretty good. And then they also sent a longer set of parallel cables. I'm not sure what the use for is of these. Maybe if your batteries are just a little bit further apart, you can get some longer parallel cables. Again, these are for AWG. All right, next we're going to take the covers off and take a look inside and see if anything has changed. Ah, I got a metal splinter. Version 2. At this point, they both look exactly the same. Both have a QC pass sticker and are covered with a plastic cover. Version 1 is on the left and version 2 is on the right. They both, honestly, they look very, very similar with just some tiny, tiny differences. Okay, so we're just gonna start back here on the back left. Just take a look at everything. You can see everything is nicely routed. Now we're going over to version 2, and it all looks practically the same, honestly. Back over to version 1. All right, next thing is the bus bars. So we have laser welded with the hump in the center for expansion and contraction. Version 2, and is basically the same thing. Laser welded with the hump in the center. Temperature sensors, so on version 1, they have them kind of glued, you know, to the actual cell in the center right there. That's basically all 4 are glued like that, which I kind of like. The other option, of course, is putting them directly on the bus bar through the little terminal style. That's the best way to do it. On version 2, they did it slightly different, and they glued the temperature sensors to the top of the cell, but it's on that plastic. So I think that would be kind of a step in the opposite direction versus, you know, gluing it right to the actual cell. And that's basically for all 4 of the temperature sensors throughout the battery pack. Now again, like I said, there is a slight modification on version 1 since I swapped the terminals around, so keep that in mind. But the main positive is right over here on the left-hand side. So on version 2, they actually swapped the order of way the cells are going around. So over here on the right-hand side is going to be our main positive, and that is due to them probably easy routing across that bottom, going over to the bus bar, to your positive terminals right here. And that's kind of what I did with my modifications. So this cable right here, the red one's going to be mine. All I did was pull out the circuit breaker so I could get to the screws to pull out the short wire that used to go from the circuit breaker to right over here. And then I just added a longer wire and came up and over to the bus bar right over there. The negative wire was long enough, I didn't have to do anything with that. Anyway, again, negative is going to be over here on the left-hand side, and then for version 2, it's going to be right over here. Oh, look at that. They have a bus bar down here. Nice. So I do like to see bus bars in server rack batteries, or really any batteries, because, I don't know, they just seem to work better in my opinion. But the good thing about these guys is they do use adequate sized cables in here. This is a 4 AWG, the same that they have right out there. Back to the bus bar. So bus bar goes through this piece of metal right here and pops out the other side and attaches directly to the BMS. I wish they would have done that with the main positive over here, but they didn't. The 2 bus bars are practically the same. This one has a short drop. This one is a little bit longer. Same thing for the main positive over here, longer drop. Not that that's going to make a difference. Version 1 is just a short drop right over here. The labeling, so that is B16, which is correct, so that's your main positive. And then right over here, got a 0 on that one, which is correct. And then if we take a look at version 2, sorry, it's kind of washed out. It does say 0 on that one. On the main positive, it does say B16. So all of the balance leads are labeled correctly, which is exactly what you want to see. The only thing that's different that I've noticed with the balance cables is all of these are colored and all of these are white. All of the routing is basically the same. It goes up and over across these bars and then up again. Same thing with version 2, goes up and they spread out and then they go up. It's all nice and neat. Next thing we could look at is the cell separation between the cells and the case. So they're using like an EV foam and then, I don't know if it's a plastic or an epoxy board closer to the cells. That is all the way around. This is version 1, and then it looks to be basically the exact same thing on version 2. Practically identical. And then in between the cells, they're using the EV foam. That's going to be the same on version 1. Version 1, in between the cells, they have that same plastic or epoxy board going down the center. Same thing is on version 2, plastic or epoxy board going down the center. So no cells are going to be touching each other or any of the casing around it. Ooh, that's a fire extinguisher. Fire extinguisher device. Nice. So we have the fire extinguisher. Where's the other end? Okay, it's right down there. So version 1 doesn't have one, and that was a recommendation that we had, was adding the fire extinguisher. Okay, anyway, next we'll take a look at the BMS. So this is going to be a JBD BMS. That's about as good as I can get. So hopefully those numbers are in focus for you if you're the type that likes to look that up. And then this one is going to be version 1. All right, so from what I can see, the part numbers are different, but they are JBD BMSs. So I don't know if I'll be able to tell you exactly what's different on all of these. To me, honestly, they're probably going to look pretty much the same. Oh, what's that? Jeez, I'm just seeing also, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this does have Wi-Fi capability. So inside the app, you not only have Bluetooth, but you also have Wi-Fi, and they're using an actual Wi-Fi antenna. In version 1 over here, you only have the Bluetooth option. So that's cool. I didn't even see that. It was just hiding in plain sight. Same with the fire extinguisher. Anyway, I was getting to the connection points right here. Basically, everything is glued in, which is exactly what you want to see. Same thing on version 1, everything is glued in. On the front, all of those connection points are glued in as well. All right, well, there you go. That's going to be a side-by-side comparison to the inside. For the most part, they are practically identical with just a few minor differences. And a couple of those might have been suggestions that you guys have made. All right, next I'm going to do is the temperature disconnect with the heat gun and the old dust can right here. But before we do that, I was just going to show you the Overkill Solar app. I'm not going to go to the JBD app because it doesn't, in my opinion, just doesn't give you as much information. But in here, you can see right now, of course, we're sitting at 97% state of charge. We're at 53.4 volts, and you can see all of the cells at this current moment are within 2 millivolts difference of each other, which is excellent. But I know whenever I turn on the charger, it's going to spread because they basically have the JBD BMS set up exactly like they did in version 1, where let me go over to the settings and I will just show you. The main thing right down here is where the balancer configuration area for the balancer enabled or balance only when charging. As far as I can tell and what I've observed is it's basically configured for balance only when charging. I would much rather see this have the balancer enabled function enabled, because whenever you charge this up and you turn the charging off, this will continue to balance the cells. Anyway, it's all basically the same, and I wish they would have gone the other direction. Enough of that, we're going to do the temperature disconnects. I'm gonna put it on a small charge, and I'm going to actually bypass these, and I'm just gonna go right in here. And I'll connect you. I'll just rip this one off right here. Are we charging? Oh, we're not charging, hold on. I don't know which one it is quite yet. Could be temperature 5. There we go, it disconnected. Charge under temperature. So that did disconnect and we are not charging anymore. Let that warm up a little bit and then we'll hit it with some heat. There we go, now we are charging again. Okay, now I'll hit it with some heat. there we go, charge over temperature. That worked exactly as it should. It did disconnect, and we'll let that come down a little bit, then it should start charging. All right, since we're here and I have the battery opened up still, I think what we're gonna do is take off this little rail right here so we can scan the QR code on one of the cells and we can see if they are the exact same brand as version 1. Another thing, what I'm doing right now is I raised the charge rate up to 17 amps. What I was gonna show you is the delta whenever we get to the top end. Yesterday, whenever I charged this up, it was as high as 181 millivolt delta or difference there, which to me again is way too high, and another reason why we should have the balancer enabled function enabled so the battery can continue to balance out whenever you don't have a charge on it. I'm gonna attempt to do it while we're charging, so don't do this at home. There we go, got it. So yes, they are using the Cornix brand cells, which is exactly like version 1. It's not gonna give me too much more information. Production date, 7/10/2025. So these are like three months old, so that's not bad. Okay, that's basically it. All right, real quick, while we're waiting for this to charge and I can show you the cell delta when it is charged, I went ahead and connected up the JBD BMS app, and that's what you can see right here. So when it's blue like this is like not really like the active page. You have to go down here to pack data, and that'll be more real time if you weren't aware. Anyway, we're sitting at 99% state of charge. You can see pack voltage, current, and state, which is charge, because that's what we're doing. Right below that's going to be your battery capacity, full capacity, remaining capacity, and how many cycles have been done. Yeah, all the same information as I did in the last video. You can see cell voltages, the high and low, and it'll tell you which one it is. Tells you temperatures and all that kind of fun stuff. So you scroll back up here towards the top, you can click on volts and temp, and that gives you every single cell voltage inside. So you can see right now cell number 13 is going to be my lowest, cell number 6 is going to be the highest. It doesn't really tell you the delta that I've seen. Anyway, pack temperatures and stuff are right below that. And then system info, I'm guessing if the cells were balancing, the little thingy would light up, but I don't think any of them are at this current moment. I want to say the differential was set to like 30 millivolts, if I remember right, looking at the Overkill Solar app. Anyway, you have summary, which is just like if you have a bunch of these connected up, it'll give you a summary of all the battery packs connected together. Parameters, you can change your inverter protocols, and then under device info, gives you the software version, project model, hardware model, and then the firmware version. And then right below that, you can connect to your Wi-Fi, which is through that Wi-Fi antenna right in there. All right, we'll close out of that real quick, and then I'll open up the Overkill Solar app. Yeah, see in here, it shows a whole bunch of batteries balancing. Our cell delta is 35 millivolts right now. I was gonna go into the settings real quick and check the delta to balance is set to 30. I'm actually going to change that to 10. Going to change this to 3450. I'm going to write that to the BMS. Alrighty, we're getting real close. Our cell delta is now up to 82 millivolts. So what you would want to do to help remedy something like this, instead of taking apart the battery and doing the whole balance thing that I did in many videos ago, is you would lower the charge rate to like 1 or 2 amps to allow the BMS to balance out the battery much slower. It'll take a long time, but you will eventually get it. Speed this up a little bit. I typically bring this all the way up to 58 volts. See, look at that. Our cell delta went to 115, which is better than what I had yesterday. So the balancing is working, just not fast enough. All right, next thing I was gonna do is show you the communication over to a computer, which you can do, which I was not really aware of in the last video that I did with these in version 1. I was always trying the RS-232 port and I could never get it to communicate. I sent them a message saying I still can't connect and communicate through a computer, and they responded back saying try the RS-485 port, which I did do, and I do have it communicating together. And I also have the short communication cable in here, so these two are communicating together. This is gonna be master battery or battery 1, this will be battery 2. And then for the addressing over here, I have all of those in the down position because just like version 1, this will have automatic addressing. All right, over here on the computer, I have the software that I got from AOUSK. I would imagine anybody can get this probably from anywhere, but the version up here on the top left, it's going to be harder to see. It's JBD-ES-UP-V1.22.3. Okay, that's what I'm going to be using right here. All right, so on the right-hand side of the screen, it looks like we're using COM port 24 on my computer, and the baud rate is set for 9600. We're going to hit the open button, and it's going to do a quick little search, and right over here you can see it found 2 batteries, master and a slave. It looks like most of this information is the same stuff that you can see on the apps. I know some people don't like to use their phone apps and stuff like that, so this is just another version or another way that you can see all the information of the battery. Starting over here on the left hand side is going to be all of your cell voltage information and stuff like that. So it looks like cell number 2 is going to be our highest, cell 3 is going to be the lowest, and our delta is 2 millivolts right now, or currently at 91% state of charge. I would imagine, again, that's gonna go up a little bit higher as I charge it. Anyway, right below that, you can see all the cell voltages inside, 1 through 16. Right below that, you can see all the temperature information. And then obviously right here in the center, you can see we're at 91% state of charge with 100% state of health. Right below that is some more pack information. So we have pack voltage, current, cycle index, remaining capacity, full capacity, which is kind of like a sneak peek right here at my last capacity test. This one's actually just a little bit higher than what I got with the Victron Smart Shunt, but I'll let you guys decide which one is going to be more accurate. 105.09 amp hours. Right below that is SOP status. It just gives you your pack voltage for like the highest state of charge, lowest state of charge, your max charge and discharge, and all those kind of settings right here. It does say 200 amps, but I think that is like the absolute max, and it's probably for like a super tiny amount of time. The standard charge and discharge is 100 amps. And then on the top right, you have system information, which is going to give you just a little bit more, I guess, real-time information of what's happening on the battery. So of course we're sitting at idle because we're not doing anything. The discharge and charge MOSFETs are turned on, and maybe a switch button is turned on as well. Obviously those are going to change whenever you use the battery. And you have alarm states and protected states if you are in that state. And then right below that, it looks like you can change your inverter protocols right down here. And then over here on the left hand side of the screen, we have a bunch more tabs that we can click on. So the next one down is parallel. I have no idea what this is. I've never messed with anything in here, and I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to mess anything up. Right below that is parameters. So all of this stuff, if we hit the read button right down here, it'll pull all that information. And this is the exact same stuff that we saw inside the Overkill Solar app. Next tab down is configuration, and it looks like you might be able to change the protocols in here as well. Here is the balance state. It says charging. I would really like to change that to idle, but I can't set it. So there you go. Next one down is module. So we got Wi-Fi, module, gyroscope. I don't even know if half of this stuff actually works. I would imagine Wi-Fi and module does, but gyroscope I don't think would actually work. Next one down would be history, debug, and then calibration, which again, I've never messed with any of this stuff in here. And then back to the home screen, if you want to click on the next battery, or really however many batteries you have connected, you just click on it and it will go to that battery. And you can see this one's actually 97% state of charge, and it's going to give you basically all the exact same information. All right, so that's a quick overview of the PC software. And one last thing I wanted to mention real quick is they do fit inside these eco-worthy server racks. However, you have to remove the little side ears because there's just not quite enough room over here on the sides. So down here, we are doing 77.6 amps on battery number 3 right here. You want to look at the screen, basically 99 amps on the battery. And just let it go all the way down to 0. All right. Alrighty, fast forward a couple of days and I've done a whole bunch of capacity tests. The first ones would be at a 0.2C rate or 20 amps. First one would be number 3 at a 0.2C. We got 102 amp hour or 5.2 kilowatt hour. For battery 4, same thing, 0.2C, we got 102 and 5.2 kilowatt hour, basically the exact same. So after that, the next day I attempted to do a 1C or a full send all the way down to 0 to make sure they would handle it, and of course to see what that capacity test was, and I missed both number 3 and number 4 battery. I just had a lot going on that day and I just missed it. And I don't know if you guys have seen all of my other battery testing videos, but whenever I do a capacity test and I miss the end and it shuts down and then it restarts, the Victron Smart Shunt doesn't always remember the capacity test correctly. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. These 2 times it did not, and these ones were really, really low. They were around like 78 or 90 amp hours, which I knew was kind of a fluke. So then I charged them back up and waited until the following day, and then I started the 1C test all over again, okay? And I made sure I was there for the ending. So for battery number 3, a 1C rate or 100 amps, we got 101 amp hour or 5.1 kilowatt hour. This was a cool battery, okay? So it sat overnight and it was cold. So then I thought, I wonder if it would change if the batteries were warm. So I charged it back up at 60 amps. Whenever it was done, it was nice and warm, and then I started that 1C test all over again. I got 104 amp hours or 5.2 kilowatt hour. And then I did the exact same thing for battery 4, 1C test or 100 amps. First one, which was a cold battery, we got 99 amp hours or 4.9 kilowatt hour. Charged it back up and did the 1C test again, although it would be a warm test. And this time I also got 104 amp hours or 5.3 kilowatt hour. Alrighty, so for all those capacity tests, for the most part, you're getting the advertised 100 amp hours. Some of them, of course, are going as high as 104. So I would say the capacity testing was good. Next will be the pros and cons for the V2 AOUSK battery, and we'll start with the pros first. So, I mean, there wasn't a massive amount of changes, but the changes that they did make were an improvement, okay? And of course, those are swapping the terminals around to the industry standard. I guess the big thing for me, or others, is if you already have some server rack batteries and you're just looking for more capacity, it would be nice if all of the positives were on the same side. That way you don't have to like crisscross your wires and use longer wires and stuff like that. So I do like that they switched to the widely used industry standard. Positive on the left, negative on the right, okay? Because most of the server rack batteries I already have, that's how they are, and that's why I switched the version 1 terminals around so I didn't have to have any weird battery cable sizes or like that. The next one is adding the fire extinguishers inside, which is always nice to see. I feel like that's gonna be just like the industry standard, so that is a good plus for me. Next one is adding the Wi-Fi. So previously on version 1, it only had Bluetooth. Now it has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So if you connect it up to your Wi-Fi, you don't have to be right next to the battery to see any of the specifications or see the state of charge or anything like that if you're not using, you know, like your inverter app. You know, you can be sitting upstairs and checking on your batteries down here or wherever you keep them. The next one is not really a pro, but I threw it in the pro because, well, I don't really know, but for communications from battery to battery, version 1 does work with version 2, and it works inside the JBD app. I don't know if that's technically a pro or not, but they do communicate together. The next one is they still include all of these really good high quality cables that are 5 feet long. You know, you get your parallel cables if you want to use those. You get the communication cable. I mean, you get all the accessories, okay? If you want to build your own rack, you can if you don't have one. Or if you have a server rack, then you can just mount the little ears and use those, although they won't technically fit in the eco-worthy rack. They're just wide enough that you can't really fit these in there. But it is nice that they include all of these accessories because a lot of the other server rack batteries do not. Next one, of course, is the price is $739 with free shipping, but they said they're going to give me a 5% discount code, so if you are interested with these, you can save 5%. The next thing is you get a 5-year warranty, and with that 5-year warranty, they also give you like they call it a 30-day no reason return. So if you buy some of these and you're not happy with them, you know, in the first 30 days, you should be able to send them back and there shouldn't be any problems or anything like that. And then the last one kind of wraps all of the pros up into one, is it's kind of like your best bang for your buck. So not only do you get all of the accessories that I already mentioned and all of the stuff that you get inside the server rack battery, you're gonna get high quality cells, you're gonna get Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, a fire suppressor now, you get a screen on the front, you get a circuit breaker. I mean, you just get all sorts of stuff for pretty cheap. At least here in the United States. I know other countries, they're like, oh my God, that's expensive. But here in the United States, it's actually a pretty good price. And now on to the cons, and I only have 2 at the moment. First one is the balance when charging function. So for me personally, I would much rather see the balancer enabled function enabled. That way, whenever the battery is sitting there and you reach the threshold of when to start balancing, it'll just start balancing no matter what. Otherwise, it's just gonna take forever to balance. So if you could change that to the other option, that would be fan-freaking-tastic. And then the last one, at least at this current moment, since I don't have all the information from these batteries quite yet, is as far as I know, they are not UL listed at this moment. If that changes, I will update the description down below. Okay, so technically right now, as far as I know, these are technically off-grid batteries. So if you need to have UL listed batteries, these are not the batteries for you. But if you're doing an off-grid setup and you want a high-quality battery, you know, this is a pretty good option. Alrighty, well that's pretty much all I got. If anybody is interested in picking up some AOUSK batteries, of course I'm gonna have affiliate links down below along with the discount code. If anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you saw anything that I missed whenever we were taking a look at the inside, make sure you put those down below as well so everybody else can read those. And then finally, if this video was helpful in any way possible, make sure you like that smash button on your way out, and I'll see you on the